Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and television shows. Today, I want to talk about Netflix's The Last Kingdom, Seven Kings Must Die. It's a medieval war drama that picks up where the show The Last Kingdom left off, and follows Uhtred and his companions after the death of King Edward. They travel the lands in the hopes of uniting England. For context, I haven't seen all of the show, but I'm pretty familiar with it. Today, however, I'm going to try and evaluate the movie based on its performance and not the show that it's related to. To start off, most of the film revolves around two major plot points that it establishes early on. A prophecy that Finan's wife tells Uhtred before he leaves Babenberg to protect Athelstan, and the brewing war between Wessex and the kings of Britain. The prophecy is poorly explained and can be summarized as, 7 kings must die and you will lose the love of your life. It's never explained what happens after that, and Uhtred never gets the full prophecy, but it is central to the plot. It's repeated throughout the film and seems to guide the character's actions at different points, but it is kept cryptic intentionally. It's also the basis for the title of the movie. The war between Wessex and the kings of Britain is a lot better explained and takes up most of the film. We see the actions Athelstan took to piss everyone off, why he took them, how the kings of Britain responded and felt about his tyrannical actions, and how Uhtred tried and failed to stop the war from starting. The film introduces way too many stories, characters, and events and gives none of them the time they need or deserve. Every single part of the movie ends up feeling rushed. One second you'll see characters discussing an upcoming event, and in the next scene they've traveled across the country to said event and are halfway through it. The characters are never given any time to flesh themselves out as people, and instead we're told about them and their personalities rather than seeing them. This leads to several characters' transitions feeling shallow. Athelstan, for example, goes through quite a journey over the course of the film, but they never spend any time delving into those feelings or trying to process them. They also run through important moments and don't give them the weight or gravity they deserve. A longtime character from the show is killed in a huge way and they don't even show it. It happens off screen, we get very little fanfare around it, and he's forgotten about and never mentioned again within 3 minutes. The movie wastes a lot of screen time on exposition dumping and setting up the war and the culture at the time. Characters pontificate ad nauseum on their actions, how they feel about others, and what they plan to do. Half the movie or more is just people discussing upcoming events and actions. The few action-based moments in the film are chopped up, shaky messes that focus more on the horror of the conflict than the actual physical aspects. There are also few and far between, with only 3 short conflicts throughout the film and 1 larger battle at the end. The story is based on history but isn't well explained, despite all of the exposition. There's a lot that doesn't get detailed, and the amount of teleporting that happens throughout the film makes it hard to understand how much time passed or how some parts of the story came to be. At one point, Uhtred overtakes and beats a character to a location on foot, while they're on horseback, and sets up an ambush for them. It all happens off screen and is explained by a throwaway line. It's cheesy and feels like it was done that way so they could have their victory moment without actually doing any of the work. The cast does what they can to perform their roles, but there isn't much for them to do beyond exposition dumping and the occasional emotion. No one really stands out aside from Uhtred and Athelstan, and even they have their important moments cut short by the pacing of the film. Harry Gilby, who plays Athelstan, gets to do the most emotional performance of the film and seems to be making a genuine effort. His character Athelstan is a young king dealing with being a homosexual in medieval times, and suffering from the guilt he feels committing such a big sin. He fights with Uhtred, his longtime advisor and friend, and has one love scene with a new character, Ingilmunder. He does his best, but the film does everything it can to cut away from his performance. Alexander Draymond plays Uhtred, a king-like figure in Northumbria who is loyal to Athelstan and looks out for his safety. Throughout the film, he tries to protect and guide Athelstan while still protecting the common people. Draymond gets to give a few good speeches and participate in a few interesting conversations with Athelstan, but he doesn't get to do much emoting until the end. He does a good job with what he's given. Visually, this film is a mess. It cuts around and doesn't have a good sense of time or space. And even though its sets and costumes are accurate to the time period, they don't really focus on the setting but use it as a background for a political drama. The film is more about characters talking than about showing the war and how it played out. It doesn't do a good job of differentiating the different lands or forces, and the battle sequences are poorly done. They consist of sped up and chopped up shots of soldiers cutting and stabbing other soldiers. They focus more on the gore than the action and cut both incredibly short. The final battle was a visual nightmare with 2 groups of men pushing each other around in a big huddle while swinging their swords at people you can't see. There are sprays of blood and the camera cuts around all the different named characters, but it's never clear what's going on. If it wasn't for all of the exposition during the fight, I wouldn't have known why they won. Sound-wise, the film uses generic fantasy instrumental tracks to great effect. They follow the emotions of the story well and manage to make the battle scenes feel a lot more intense than they had any right to feel. Overall, The Last Kingdom, Seven Kings Must Die feels like a mix of a cash grab hoping to squeeze a little bit more money out of fans of the show, and the creator trying to cram all their unused ideas into their final project. The pacing is breakneck and makes it hard to get into the story. There's a mountain of information being vomited out every second, and the film doesn't do a good job of breaking up the exposition with exciting events. The visuals don't tell a clear story, and the battle sequences aren't well done. The soundtrack is okay, but it doesn't stand out as special. It's just generic fantasy music that's used well. The movie doesn't really have much to offer beyond closure for fans of the show. It's not trying anything new, it's not a great return to form, and it's not even a well-done film. It's just a final goodbye to these characters and not a good one. Like having somebody run over your toes as they leave. 4 out of 10. And remember, those are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Bye-bye!